welcome to your day off. My name is Corey, and I'm sitting today with my friend Gabby, the managing editor of Beauty Launchpad magazine.
Yes, that's it. You got
Did
it.
I get it? Did I get it this time?
You got it.
I mess that up every time. It's too many words. It should just be editor.
4 words.
Yeah, fair enough.
But I am the editor, technically. I mean,
so that's another word.
Yeah. What?
Well, whatever. What's up, buddy?
What is up?
Okay, so a couple months ago we were in Chicago.
Yes,
and
for ABS.
We did ABS together, and those were your first like live and in-person podcasts. Like,
yeah.
How you feeling?
It's fun. I love doing these. I've noticed like the energy difference. I mean, so we're at Premiere Orlando, by the way.
Yeah.
Not to drop,
No, that's fair.
Jump the gun, but when we were at ABS, we were like live on the show floor, so there's people walking around, and that's a little bit of different energy. Now we're just in the press room, which is nice, so it's quieter. I feel like you're able to concentrate. Like there's pros and cons to both, but I think in general, it's just fun to be in person and have conversations with people. The energy feels different just talking to someone in person, and it kind of takes me back to my roots, like being a journalism student in college and just getting to do like live on the street interviews and being in person. It feels like we're finally getting back to that, which is nice, rather than doing everything over Zoom.
You know what? That's a great point, because it almost feels like live, like in the street interviews, like when you kind of do it in this format, because like nothing's off, right?
Right.
And just you can literally like feel the room, as opposed to Zoom, where you kind of have to guess what the room is or guess where the conversation is going to go.
And I feel like when I'm on Zoom, I feel like things tend to feel not more scripted, but I feel like I have the idea of my questions in my mind and I kind of go through them. Whereas like I feel like when you're in person, it's easier to kind of veer off and do different things and just feel more impromptu and like feel the moment.
Do you think when we get back to Zoom, like you'll have more of this feeling, or do you think you'll kind of feel more like the scripted thing?
I don't know. I feel like I'll have to see when we get to it, but I think it'll be nice having done stuff in person to sort of have had the feel of that and hopefully carry it into what we do on Zoom, have the confidence of it and everything.
Yeah, for sure. And you're still new to podcasting too, so there's still like this big like learn that's there, right?
And I always wanted to do podcasting, like when I never got the chance to, but I wanted
but here
to.
You sit.
And here I said, I always wanted to do podcasting, and I was going to take a few podcasting classes when I was in college, but I never got the chance to because I was just looking at like the amount of credit hours I had, and I graduated from college a year early. I, got my degree in 3 years, which was nice.
I just nerd out. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, but anyway, it was just like I had a plan to take podcasting classes, and then I looked at like all the stuff I was doing in college, like extracurriculars and being involved in my community and everything, and I just like wasn't able to make it work. And so it's nice to get to have this collaboration and get to be a part of all of that, and bring it into everything we're doing in the hair industry with Beauty Launchpad.
That's what's up. I appreciate the collaboration as well.
Yeah, it's fun.
I love chatting with you. So like you mentioned, we are at Premiere Orlando. Big shout out to our friend Rachel Brill, who's our contact person over here at is it Performa? Eforma? Whatever, it's Premiere Orlando, here in Premiere Orlando. Listen, I love doing live podcasts. Our goal every time that we do a live podcast or when we do these events is to always like dig a little bit deeper with your old friends and then to make new friends.
Yes.
And this conversation is definitely about making new friends and chatting with like a legend of the industry in a weird way. Yes. But we'll get into that. Today on our podcast is John Moroney, Moron with an EY.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Well, I had to spell it out in my head, John.
You had to spell it in your head. Got it.
No, I totally had to do that. So, John, welcome, man.
Thank you very much.
I'm glad you made it here, and your flight was good and all that good stuff.
Flight was good. Flight was easy. Just right down from New Jersey.
Go right down 95.
Right. Got on the Parkway, just kept going.
Just kept on going.
Yeah.
That's cool. I love New Jersey, by the way. Do you live in New Jersey or New York?
I live in New Jersey. I've only lived there for 4 months. I was born and raised in California, and but I've lived all over since then. But most recently, I was in Germany with my last role, and I was there for about 12 years. And when I left that role, I moved back to California, and I hadn't lived in California like in Northern California in San Francisco, where I'm from. Hadn't lived there for probably 30-something years. I went back, and I'm like, okay, I kind of feel like I'm in high school again, being back in the hometown, that sort of thing. And then got the job with Milkshake and decided, well, you know what? Instead of flying back and forth, because our office is in New Jersey, I said, let's just move there. So packed up the family, got a car, drove across the country in the middle of January
Like this past January.
Just this past January.
Whoa.
Bought a house in New Jersey, so living in New Jersey now.
That's awesome,
Absolutely.
man.
You know,
How's it going? It's good?
I love it. I love it.
That's cool.
You know, I don't understand why Jersey gets a bad rap. Jersey's a great place to live. The people are great. Food's great.
I think it's because it's just like south of New York. So like, you know, it's all the New Yorkers just like shitting on them a little bit.
Probably.
Shitting down 95 or down the turnpike, you know.
Probably. New Jersey people I found don't have a lot of time for New Yorkers. They're like, yeah, whatever.
So true. Yeah.
Probably.
Now, Gabby, I'm sorry. I can't believe you said you've never done a podcast. You guys are like here, like you're natural, like you've been doing this for years. This is like being on like drive time radio in the morning with you two.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I have a broadcast journalism degree. So I've done plenty of like live journalism interviews, lots of interviewing in college and everything. And we started doing this collaboration in the beginning of the year.
While he was driving across country.
Yeah,
like
exactly. While he was, so, and have done a handful of them under our belt. And kind of, I think, have found our rhythm and found what works.
She's definitely getting a lot more comfortable with it. You know,
Absolutely,
I think when we first started, it was like, and as whenever you start something new, right? Like there's always like the where do I go? And because we had built a brand about it, I'm sure, and I'm speaking for you. I apologize. No, I don't. But I you know, it's always hard walking into someone else's house, right?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, so and then and as much as I try to like, no, I want you to take over this space. You know, you're still like, you know, sit back a little bit, but she's doing great. I actually like to talk. Sorry, we're going to talk about this for a second.
Okay.
But even like talking about like Chicago, like I noticed like how you've kind of owned your space a little bit more, and I appreciate that.
I had fun. Like that episode with Los that we did, maybe it was because I was so caffeinated that
that
day.
helps. Yeah.
I just felt like I was like that. I walked away from that episode and I was like, that was great. Like, I don't know why. It just felt, and I think that was the first live one we did. Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Because just live ones are different. You know, it's just a different feel.
Is caffeine then a key component of successful podcasting?
I think it's successful to everything.
For me, yeah.
for everything. Okay, we got so much to dive into. How did you how'd you find the industry? How'd you get in the industry? How'd all that happen? Are you a hairstylist?
I am a hairstylist, and actually this year it will be 40 years I've been in the industry. When I graduated from beauty school and got my first job
in San Francisco.
Yeah, in the Bay Area. I grew up in the East Bay, and was going to the university, and I actually was about a year and a half into a psych degree. And, you know, after going to Catholic school my entire life, enforced education, and suddenly I get to college, and, you know, at college, they're like, you know, show up, don't show up. That's up to you. You're a grown-up. And I was like, well, okay. And so, you know, my college career, it was the early 80s. Come on, you know, use your imagination. And a friend of mine was going to beauty school, and I was over at his house one afternoon, and he was putting a hair color in his hair, you know, as you do when you're a beauty school student.
Sure.
And it was actually a Sebastian Cellophanes. I'll never forget it.
Yeah.
The original Sebastian Cellophanes, black orchid.
You know what?
And
you said that, and I could smell it.
Of course. Of course. And so I was helping him, you know, like in the bathtub, like rinse out the color out of his hair and then help, you know, blow drying a little bit. And I was like, this isn't so bad. I could probably get into this. So I looked into it, ended up going to beauty school just on a fluke because I was like, you know, I need to take a break from the university. So, you know, I, of course, went home and told my parents I'm going to drop out of college and I'm going to go to beauty school. And by the way, I'm gay. And so that was a fun day.
Happy Pride Month.
Happy Pride, right?
Happy Pride. So is that your coming out story too? Like I'm going to beauty school?
Well, to my parents, yeah. I'm going to beauty school, dropping out of college, going to beauty school. And, you know, guess what? And then just kind of found out I was good at it. And I've been in the industry ever since. And I spent about 6 or 7 years, most of the 80s, I was behind the chair. And but I got bitten by the education bug, and which sounds a lot better in my head than when I say it out loud.
It's a big bug.
But, you know, I always love talking about products. I always love selling products. You know, I just seem natural to me. And I like to talk. And I had a sales consultant say, hey, you know, you seem to know a lot about the products. Could you come to one of my other salons and just teach them? So I went and did a product knowledge class, not even knowing what I was doing. I just went in and talked about the products that I liked.
So nothing like formal or official, like just like, oh, you know something about this, like no brand set you up anything.
You're so good at when you talk about these products. Can you come to? All right. And I was like, hey, this is fun. If you ever need me to do that again, I'll do it. So I started doing it, and I started doing it, and I would like read the literature, go in. I mean, this is really before like formalized educators were in the industry. Again, this is like, the mid 80s. And then I started using this one product line that I was introduced to in the first salon I worked in. And the product line was so small, the distributor was literally selling it out of the back of his van because the product line only had at that time about 25 products in their hair care line. And I was like,
wait, is this the JP story?
No, it isn't. It isn't. But I started using this product line and I absolutely fell in love with it. I fell in love with everything it stood for. It was this little tiny product line called Aveda. And I started working with Aveda in about 87, 88, and just using it in the salon. And then I started doing classes for my local distributor. And I loved it so much that when I decided to get out from behind the chair because I wanted to go more into other parts of the industry, I became a sales consultant for my local Aveda distributor, which led me to working for Aveda Corporate, where I was working directly with Horst, the founder, for many years, and ended up being the global head of education right up until the time when Estee Lauder acquired Aveda. And at that point, I was like, time for a change. I was living in Minnesota. I'd lived in Australia with the brand as well, starting it there. And then I decided that I didn't want to, that is the path that I wanted to follow anymore. And so I wanted to continue to work for an independently owned company. So I moved to LA and got a job with Sebastian. And Sebastian was still owned by the original founders, John and Jerry Cosenza. And I had a great opportunity to work with them for a very short time before Wella acquired that. So, now we're working for a hair color company. We're still in the industry. And I ended up spending a lot of time, almost a decade with Wella and Sebastian. Until then I went to Cow and was global head of education for Goldwell and KMS. So I've spent my entire career in education, and I just have, it just never gets old for me. I love it. And I'll tell you the best thing, even though I'm not doing hair on a regular basis anymore, I love watching hairdressers work.
Same.
I do it. I can do it all day, backstage at shows, just in salons, and I just get captivated watching their hands work. And I'm like, okay, now why are they holding it at that angle? Okay, now why are they applying the color in those sections? Just still working it out in my head, and I love it. It just doesn't get old at all.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It is.
Isn't it cool? Like, and I'll speak broadly for a sec, but it's just so crazy that like you lived in Australia and stuff. Like, who would have thought like that decision that you made, rinsing out that cellophane in that tub, like you could ever see like 30 years or 40 years in the future and be like,
kind of like the butterfly effect a little bit.
Totally.
A little bit, yeah.
Totally. Yeah, it's, and I know every self-help book can say, you need to sketch out your roadmap and a plan and your goal for anything. I don't mean to make this sound cavalier, but I've never said, in 5 years I'm going to be this, and in 10 years going to be that. I was really looking, if an opportunity came up, I'd look at it. Like when I had the opportunity to move to Australia, I made the decision in about 30 minutes. Like I didn't undertake some analysis. Maybe I should have. I don't know.
Well, how'd it go?
It went great.
You shouldn't have.
I spent a year and a half there, and then Horst was like, okay, now you need to move back to the U.S. We need you back here in Minnesota. Okay, great. Did that. I just take advantage. Be open to opportunities.
Carpe diem. Seize
totally,
the day.
It totally is. And I've also really believe that once you put out into the universe, and I don't mean to get all metaphysical or anything, but I think that once you put something out into the universe, with your intention, and your intention could simply be, I'm open to a new opportunity. The universe, whatever you believe in is listening, and it will give you that opportunity. So, again, careful what you wish for.
Yeah, right.
I've had a few of those as well, but everything you do and you take advantage of every opportunity, you're going to learn something. Might be a good thing, might be something you don't want to repeat, but it's a learning. So absolutely, seize the day, carpe diem, look for, you don't even need to look for opportunities. There are opportunities everywhere. I think that a lot of people tend to get a little bit tunnel vision, like I'm looking for this specific opportunity, when there might be amazing things in your peripheral vision that you're just not seeing. And it might mean doing something a little different, but hey, that's learning too, right?
That's learning too.
Yes.
The opportunity. That's amazing. Can I get inside baseball a little bit?
Pardon me?
Can I get inside baseball a little bit? What happens with like, and this could just be a blind spot for me, and I'm willing to admit that. But like, what happens to like this great brand like Sebastian, where they were like, they own that space for so many years, and now like you don't hear about them, I don't even know if they're around, to be honest. I'm sure they are around. I'm sure Shaper's around someplace.
Shaper is absolutely. There are many things that will endure. Shaper is one of them.
One of them, right? What happens to a brand where they own like such a large chunk of like, what's it called? Like
market share.
And then like now, like it's even hard to find them.
Well, actually it's not hard to find them. They may not be in the places you were used to looking before, but you can go into, Cosmoprof. I've seen them at Salon Centric. So Sebastian is absolutely still around, still going strong.
But they still don't have that. They don't have that big pop like a lot of the other brands. Is it just like how the rotation works?
Well, it's a different time, and there are brands like Sebastian that I think live in the collective consciousness and the collective memory of our industry because they were so vital to when this industry really exploded, when it moved from being, weekly shampoos and sets to really this industry coming into creativity for the first time. In that late 70s to early 80s, when that was the genesis of all of these brands, Redken was born out of that era. Paul Mitchell was born out of that era. Aveda was born out of that era. Sebastian, Joico, they all came from that space of flowing into this new world of creativity and artistry, where before it had, it was either very Sassoon kind of cutting, which also broke us into, opened up a whole new world of creativity instead of just shampoo sets, that are.
Well, he's the one, right?
He's one of the ones,
right?
Absolutely. But I think brands like Sebastian dominated for so long because they set the trends. They would define Paul Mitchell and Jean Bra in the early Paul Mitchell days. They were the ones that said, they were the icons we all looked to. Jerry Cosenza, Robert Labetta, all of these people said, and were a part of our collective consciousness for so long. And then it suddenly becomes about the product. And then, the brands get sold to larger companies. And then, it's the same. It happens with all kinds of brands. It doesn't just happen to Sebastian or anything like that. But I think the difference now is how brands evolve. There are brands, I think, that really try and hold on to their heritage, or their origin story. And I think that in today's day and age, if you're not evolving with what your audience is looking for, and these days, it's not about like, I'm going to stay here and I'm going to capitalize on my origin story and, all of those sorts of things, or what I stand for. You have to be so fluid as a brand these days because the trends come and go. I mean, week to week, it's not even season to season anymore. And so I think getting back to your earlier question, I think that when brands stop becoming a movement and they start just becoming product, I think that tends to slow down, the interest somehow. And I think like all brands, there are brands that just sort of lose their way because maybe their ownership, their place in a larger portfolio or something like that. I don't want to diminish any choices that any company has made about their brands or anything like that, because where you might not see them today, you may see them tomorrow.
Hopefully.
Because absolutely. But
to that point, there's two brands that like, to me, kind of died off and then made this big boom, this big like phoenix resurrection, and that was one was Matrix. Matrix was huge, and remember the
Arnie Miller.
Who are the
Alteris
brothers? The Alteri brothers, right? So there were the we have we'll talk off air about that. However, there were the Alteri brothers, where like they would have these huge crowds around them at a big hair show like this, and then like for a few years, like you didn't hear about the brand, and then literally probably 7 or 8 years ago, they kind of like boom, they blew up again. And the other one was a Babyliss Pro. Yeah. Like like when I first got in the industry, nobody used Babyliss tools. Those were the wrong tools to use, and now like they're huge and doing big things. And
I think it's their team, the people. I think like it's and I mean, we were talking about before we started recording, like why you started this podcast, and sort of a lot of it was like the people, like that was what clicked for you.
Yeah.
And I think it's the people that are around the brands as well, and like the faces and if they love the product and are passionate about it, like that carries, right?
Yeah.
And resonates with people.
For sure. You know,
I think another thing is, and this is really a testament to our industry and the people that are in our industry, meaning the stylists, is what really makes a difference is when stylists have a voice in the brand. And I don't mean just as, users or constituents or, fans of the brand, but when companies that have brands like Milkshake, the brand that one of the brands that I work with is, I'm sitting in all of those meetings. I'm a hairdresser. I'm sitting in all the marketing meetings. I'm sitting in the finance meetings. I'm sitting in the board meetings as well, and representing the voice of the hairdresser. And I find that with a lot of brands, when they forget the voice of the hairdresser or the hairdresser isn't in the room, that's when things start to go wrong. And I think you can see, brands, there's some amazing brands out there that still have the voice of the hairdresser. Like, one of the ones that I absolutely love and seeing how they've just exploded is Amika.
oh yes.
And
Yeah.
I mean, it used to be kind of this little tiny
Like
brand,
boutique
kind of thing. You'd see it kind of, oh, aren't they cute or something? And then they've just exploded. And I think it's just absolutely phenomenal. And I agree with you. Matrix has had this wonderful renaissance out there now because they're listening to the hairdresser again.
I think you're right. Well, you know what happened, and you and I are, I say this biting my tongue, but we're old enough to kind of see like them come and go.
Absolutely.
And I think we talked a little bit before we even went on, is that really until like 2014, the entire narrative of the industry was controlled by the brands, right? And then I've told this story 1,000 times on the podcast, but it resonates so much with me. Is like, and this is no shade, I'm not throwing shade at all, it's just where we were. But like, if you went to a Redken event, it was always Sam Villa sitting in front of the class. If you went to a Wella event, it was always the Dove standing in front of the class. And as a hairdresser who wanted to rise and wanted to be on that stage, there was no space on that stage. And then what social media did is it opened up, it gave us so many stages to stand on that we all felt seen and heard in that. And then I think what had happened, and again, you're on the inside, so you can let me know. But then, like, once the hairstylist had the voice again, now the brands had to play from behind and go like, okay, well, how do we get in their voice, or how do we get in their mouth? I guess.
Yeah, 100%. There aren't the big stages anymore. You have shows like Premiere Orlando or America's Beauty Show as well. That have still held on to what made hair shows magical. And there's still IBS is out there as well. So, but not like it used to be, because the hairdressers aren't coming to these kinds of shows as much. They're coming regionally. Again, not throwing shade or anything, but I agree. I think that the shift in sort of the hairdresser consciousness is, we used to just sit there and just be in the audience, just ready to be inspired and to be like bowled over by this incredible creativity, whether it was Martin Parsons or there's, remember he'd come out and do these amazing updos and things like that, just effortlessly, or the Doves or Chromines or whoever it was. And now it's shifted. People don't want to just see the end result and be like, oh, here is my creativity. They want to express their own creativity. But what I really noticed over the last 10 years is that the hairdressers are like, yeah, okay, that looks really nice, that end result. How did you do it? So we once did an event at my last company where we did backstage on stage. So we actually did this event, and we, instead of having the backstage behind the curtains where no one could see it, we did the backstage open so people could see all the prep happening.
Like Subway.
Kind of, exactly, yeah. Where they could see all the prep that was going in. They could see the models, getting the color done. They could see, the roller play, the blowouts, how this hair was being. So they got to see the whole process. And then that evening, they would sit in the audience and they're like, yes, that's what that model.
That's genius.
That's so cool.
It was
so genius.
It was a lot of fun. And listen, we didn't invent that. I got that idea from, I can't even
Stole it from someone else.
Share and reapply. Steal with pride.
Steal with pride. Exactly.
So anyone's out there, and I find that the hairdressers want to stand next to you and look over your shoulder and see how you're doing it. And then, you know what? They're going to go back and do their own reel and say, okay, I learned this at a show. And that's where I think the new creativity is.
Absolutely.
That's such a great...
Because I really believe that creativity with a capital C is not the providence of just a certain few people. I believe everybody is creative. Everybody. Now, I used to think that, because I can't draw, I can't paint, that's just not my thing. My creativity lies in other areas. And I think that a lot of people, and hairdressers too, they're like, oh, if I can't do fantasy updos or something, I'm not creative. Or if I can't do crazy rainbow color or anything, I'm not creative. Yes, you are. Discover your own creativity. Discover what you're creative, what gives you joy to create. That's your creativity. Do more of that.
That's amazing.
But it's not just, there aren't just these certain few people. Those are the creative ones. That's over now. Everyone's creative.
Yeah, and I learned that in 2014 too. When I opened up my Instagram and I look at the whole world, and I'm like, "The hell am I?"
Yeah.
I thought I was pretty good.
Everyone's an influencer now.
Yeah. Totally.
Everyone's.
Yeah, totally. That's amazing. All right. Again, a little bit of history. I'm asking actually.
Okay.
It's like so. I kind of vaguely remember Milkshake having a little bit of it almost seems like maybe like a decade ago, like I heard about them, and then again they kind of disappeared. But then like literally within the last year, maybe the year and a half, man, you guys are showing up everywhere. But am I remembering that correctly? And I also did you guys have a direct dye company color?
We do have the direct color, so you're absolutely right. Milkshake actually was started in Italy almost 25 years ago. And has been a favorite in Europe, especially Italy and Spain, where it really has, our strongest business. It came over to the U.S. just over 10 years ago, 100%. And so it kind of popped in off the screen, went through some management changes, some distribution changes, and just kind of got lost in the shuffle. The brand was sort of under-distributed a little bit in some areas. We had really pockets of very strong distribution. So like if you go up in like Illinois, Minnesota, the sort of the upper Midwest, very strong distribution. But up until recently, we had no distribution in California or the West Coast at all. And we've just opened up.
So it's like a brand new product for California.
It's a brand new product for California, Arizona, Nevada. And so we've just opened distribution there with Bassett, which is amazing because it's an amazing company to be a partner with. But
Bassett is like a distributor?
Yeah, Bassett Salon Systems. They're amazing, absolutely amazing. They've got like 19 stores, but they have a full field force that is, old school thinking. Go in, consult with salons, help them build their business. Very, very stylish, very education focused. But so now, a year ago, we had a complete management change, and it's myself, a gentleman named Scott Ginter, who was previously the general manager of Cow Salon for North America, so for the U.S. for Goldwell, KMS, and Orbe. Corey Kautz, who was my boss at Goldwell at Cow for many years. He was the global head of Goldwell, KMS, Orbe as well, and before that, he was KMS for many years. So we joined the Beauty Nova company, which is the parent company, which is based in Italy. And we have the brands Milkshake, Depot, and we have this amazing brand called Medavita, which is mainly in Europe right now. But we're going to look at how we bring that into North America as well. So we've got a lot of things going. So we're in this, you're absolutely right. So over the last year, you've been hearing a lot more about Milkshake because we've been on a real strong journey to create the awareness for what is just this amazingly fun, professional, but incredibly effective brand. It's so much fun. It literally is about, having feel good hair for feel great days. I mean, it sounds a little, I don't know. It just sounds a little whimsical, but I got to tell you, Gabby, I know you've used the products.
I love the products.
Let me tell you. My new favorite product in the salon, and I'm not bullshitting, is the mousse. And I think it's because
whipped cream?
Or the whipped
the
cream.
whipped
The whipped
cream.
cream?
Because when I use the whipped cream, like I want to eat the whipped cream.
Yeah.
Yes,
like
were
the
you
distribution.
you weren't there.
As
We
it
were-
distributes is amazing.
So Milkshake was at Presley Poe and Friends. They had a presence there, which
Right.
is
They were, yeah.
great. And I don't
That
know
was
if
a
it was
great
Alvin.
event. That was
It
a
was so
great
fun.
event.
Well, you're in. Hold on, Gab. Next year you got to come, John.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right down the road. You're a train ride
Absolutely.
away.
Absolutely.
You know, it's a great event. It's so different. Like you can talk to your Milkshake people that were in attendance, and maybe you can help us with this. It is so hard to sell because it's not a hair show.
Yeah.
It's an experience, and it's so hard to say, like, you've got to experience it to experience it, but it's absolutely the truth, and we don't have the words for it. We don't know how to talk about it, honestly. But you
It's
just
like a community. It is just like a whole
It's
bunch
a
of friends
happening.
getting
You know what
together
it is?
and like
It's totally a happening.
uplifting each other and everything. It's a really cool experience. But to like touch on your point, because you mentioned like the whipped cream and you wanted to eat it. I think it was Alvin and Katie May were chatting and they were like, is the whipped cream actually edible? And I've made sure, and I talked to Sarah and like did a little interview with her that we'll post to Beauty Launchpad at some point. And I always just make sure to like get the word across because I was like, I don't know if this is a thing that's happening to other people, but I was like, don't eat the products. Like, you got to make sure.
It's not
Yeah, it was like, it
it's not
didn't
a
start
dessert
out being
topping.
edible.
I mean, anything's edible if you're brave enough, but
That's
we
fair.
do not, as a manufacturer, we absolutely do not.
whatever you do behind your own doors, we don't judge.
You know,
Because I was like, is other people under
people are
this
like,
myth?
can you use bleach with 40 volume on the scalp? Well, I mean, can you?
Can you?
Should you? Is a different question. You know,
How close are you to her? 'Cause,
So
Right.
don't eat the whipped cream.
Don't eat the whipped cream.
but can I? My clients love it too because of how it is, right?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't look like a mousse. It looks like it should be on top of a sundae or something. And
So good.
it's funny, like.
And it's the fragrance too. It just smells so damn good.
Well, no, it doesn't because I want it to smell like whipped cream. like when you go to drink a Sprite and it's a Coke and you're like, not that Coke isn't fabulous, but it's what the expectation is. So
Well, it
that's
depends
why
which one, because we have a couple of different versions, and we do have a whipped cream that actually smells. It's got that vanilla latte kind of aroma, and we've got
Do you have the flower power one?
flower power one.
I love
the
a
one
flower
that I
power one.
have is I think it says like moisturizing.
Moisture and more.
Moisture and more.
Okay, so
Moisture
that's
and more.
got kind of our tropical
That's it.
flavor to it. You know,
Yeah.
like papaya, kind of a tropical vibe to
All right,
it.
I think I'm gonna have to like order a case of these things because they're amazing.
We will be happy to send those to you.
I appreciate
Absolutely.
you, John.
But I think that you're touching on really what's so wonderful about Milkshake, because first of all, the name is so evocative. You know,
Right.
who doesn't love a milkshake?
Right.
You know, and then you get these products that not only do they work and they make your hair feel great, but the sensory experience is, food aromas are, out there in.
You could say it. They're erotic.
Well, they are erotic, but
They're
so,
sensual.
they're
Sensual.
No, they
Yeah.
are sensual.
Sensory.
Sensorial.
Sensorial.
Now, if you're going to say it, it has to be
Sensorial.
like, they're sensual.
Oh.
Ooh.
Damn.
That's a radio
that,
voice,
That kind of hit
if
me
I
in,
ever
the,
heard
in the
one.
heart a little bit, like that.
Milkshake. Whipped cream.
Whipped cream.
Yes.
It's
So it is. But I mean, then you pair it with the milk proteins that are in there that are so nourishing to the hair, the fruit extracts that give the antioxidant property, but it's the sensory experience. And that's really the cornerstone of the whole Milkshake experience. It's about joy. And it's not about, we're going to hit you over the head with all of this technology. The stuff works. Absolutely does. We'll be happy to tell you the ingredients that make it work. But you know what? Enjoy the products. We just did a bunch of market research testing as well. And we talked to consumers and we talked to stylists that used it and haven't used it. And when people that were just using it for the first time, they said, what's amazing is that my hair actually feels good.
Yep.
And first of all, every product wants you to make your hair feel good. But
Sure.
they said, the thing about this is that it feels good because my hair feels like hair. It doesn't feel like my hair with product in it.
Right.
So it's that sort of feel good
It's light.
hair for feel great days. Because, when your hair feels good and you feel good about your hair, right? Market research companies spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to tell you that when when they feel good about how their hair turns out, they're going to have a better day emotionally. And it's like, you could ask any hairdresser and save hundreds of thousands of dollars. Any hairdresser will tell you that.
Oh, yeah.
Because
I mean, it's what we do.
Our business.
It's what we do.
Right.
Right, exactly. And industry-wise, I think sometimes, and I'm only speaking to myself and in the mirror at this point, but you forget that at times.
Yeah.
You forget that you are like a beauty provider and that people feel better, leaving your chair, and we shouldn't take advantage of that. And I remember there's been times in my career, I've been doing hair for over 30 years now, but I forgot that like years at a time, and when you come back to that, you're like, oh, okay, now, where I'm, anyways, I don't know. That's my pet peeve about myself a little bit, I don't know.
It's not just a beauty provider. I mean, you really are a wellness provider. I mean, it's.
Oh, you've never sat in my chair, John.
The impact. Well, I'm sure that'd be quite a roller coaster as well. I've heard your chair actually has a seatbelt and shoulder harness.
Oh no,
to it as well.
Tears too. Mine.
I wanted Corey.
Built-in Kleenex dispenser.
Just in the back for me.
Got it.
I feel like I wanted Corey at one point to do my hair once I found out he was a colorist, and
I love that you just said at one point.
At one point.
Fuck, she
Like
just
that.
set
Like
it up.
that point is gone.
Well,
now.
you didn't told me no.
I did tell you.
Did
that?
you fire
you
her as a
did.
client before you even?
I'm
got
sure
her
it's
in
in
the
Chicago. Yeah, pretty much.
I mean,
Pretty
no,
much.
I just mean like at some point in time, like just
we
to
should do it.
experience that. But now, I don't know. I thought you told me no, like you didn't want to do it, or you were like intimidated by it. But
no, I'm not intimidated.
You know
by
what?
it.
Okay.
I'm sure we can find some color right here in this show.
and then
Let's
just
do it.
go.
We should do
Well,
it.
I
Do it
don't.
right
We don't
now.
want to
Do it
mess up
live.
Sarah's gorgeous work, which
Yeah,
that
true,
brings
Sarah.
me
Sorry,
to
Sarah.
Sarah McGinnis, who is in our Beauty Launchpad's Made June issue, along with Milkshake everywhere. Our Made June issue
It
is the
is
Milkshake issue.
too.
And that's, I mean, like a testament to the products and how much I love them. I currently in my hair have the Milkshake color, the Milkshake gloss. I have the dry shampoo in, the anti-humidity spray, the Incredible Milk, the oil. Yeah, and my hair looks.
You got the whole. You've
super
got
light.
every
And
SKU.
how does it feel?
Light and gorgeous and beautiful. Like I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love all the products. I use the Flower Power, the Color Care shampoo and conditioner. Those are regular staples for me. I use this scalp serum.
The Incredible Serum.
Yeah, the Incredible Serum.
What a
is
great
just,
name.
Yeah.
Right.
It's incredible.
It's incredible.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Absolutely.
What where are you guys distributing now? Like, do you have like a national distributor? Or well, you said you had the one that's in California,
No,
but
we work-
like on the. Listen, I'm being selfish.
Yeah.
Like I'm in the I'm in the DC area. So like, who's distributing there? Ish
I'm so bad with distributor. Sorry. Now you're putting me on the spot.
a little bit.
We have. It's not through Goldwell. It's not. Sorry. It's not through PA Beauty. I know it's on the. It's not to my tongue. Sorry, I'll have to come.
That's
back
okay.
through
It's
that. But
it's
no,
fine.
we work with a network of independent distributors right now. We're not in any national distributors at this time, but we work just with our distributor partners. So whether it's like DePasquale in New Jersey, Sullivan up in the Northeast, Bassett in the West, Elite in Texas and Oklahoma, Professional Salon Concepts out of Illinois. So yeah,
That's great for me.
Yeah.
'cause,
It's great for you.
Yeah, I'm just gonna continually just keep restocking.
I'm gonna be sending you texts going like, "Hey, can you send me
Send
some
me
stuff?
some of the- yeah,
Can
no,
you go to the
I-
distributor and send me some stuff there?"
Yeah.
No, that's cool. So what?
I'll just bring your license because I don't know. I'm not like obviously
Oh,
licensed,
yeah,
so
fair
I'll just
enough.
like send me a picture and I'll just stock up for the
well,
both
yeah,
of us.
it's not like you don't know anybody who works for the brand.
That's fair.
That's fair.
Right.
Yeah,
That's really fair.
I'm just gonna be harassing you. Being
So
like,
what was
many
the
more.
what was the conversation early on about like having a bigger space in certainly the U.S. market?
How do you mean? Like,
Well, I mean, again, there wasn't a lot of market share.
Right.
5 years ago, let's say. Like again, like I remember when you guys came and I go, "Oh, that's an interesting line," and then it's like, "Well, where is it now?" Kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then what was that conversation about? Like, okay, there's really a space here that
Sure.
we can, and also like, and I'm always challenged by this too, is at least how I think about it. Like how do you do it and not be white noise? Because there's always a new brand in the
Sure.
market space.
sure. Okay, let me unpack that. So
Yeah.
I think what was the decision is that over the last year, Beauty Nova, which is also backed by a private equity group in Italy, went through another round of funding. And so as they were looking at it, getting ready for the next round of funding for the brand and for the company, they really did a worldwide analysis of the professional beauty space. What is the opportunity? And the single biggest opportunity was to maximize distribution in North America.
Sure.
I don't want to say the low-hanging fruit, but we were already there. We were sort of under-distributed or inconsistently distributed as well. So that was sort of the genesis of the idea to bring in a new management team with industry experience, whether it was in sales, marketing, education as well. People from the industry that know the industry, not just bringing in people, oh, yeah, no, you're a marketing person. Yeah, you can come in and do this. No, it's all, our entire management team has, I think probably collectively, we probably have about 200 years of experience in the pro industry. And that was it. And so we've spent the last year really going through and sharpening our distribution network, but also sharpening our portfolio, sharpening our messaging, building out new education, new ways to reach the hairdresser and support the hairdresser and the salon and the barber shops with our men's line. But I think what's different about us is that while you see a lot of brands and companies getting bigger and bigger and bigger and moving further and further away from the hairdresser, we're actually, our sort of motto is to go old school, and we're like going to the hairdresser. Like, we want our educators to be out there in salons, whether they're doing a class or whether they're standing there helping you formulate our color. That's what we want to do. We want to go back to the old thing where it is like, we're going in, hugging the hairdresser, shaking hands, kissing babies, the whole thing. And it's really getting feet on the ground. So right now we actually are recruiting for new artist educators, like a whole network. So if any of you out there are listening and you want to get into education, or, you Milkshake looks interesting to you, and that might be a brand that, you might want to affiliate with and share your experience and creativity, you can visit us at milkshakehairpro.com. And there's all kinds of information about how you can join our artist educator network. But yeah, so it was 10 years ago, it kind of came on the scene, and then you didn't hear anything about it. And so now this last year, like I said, we've been really doing everything you can to build awareness, build distribution, because we know we've got an amazing product. I got to tell you, when I walked into the office a year ago, because I started just over a year ago with the brand, I walked in and I saw all the products, not just Milkshake, but Depot as well. And I looked at them and I said to my boss, I said, how have more people not heard about these brands? And it's just kind of a rhetorical question, but I was like, I feel like as a industry professional, as an educator, as a hairdresser, I feel like I've been given like this treasure chest. And inside this treasure chest, there are amazing products that smell great, that feel great, and that they work. We've got a full color portfolio, permanent color. We've got an express color. We've got a demi-permanent. We've got the gloss.
The gloss.
Can we talk about the gloss?
Yeah, I was going to like kind of segue a little bit and say, like, talking about stylists getting hands-on with the product. Yeah. You're doing a really cool opportunity right now for stylists to get hands-on with the gloss to end up in Spain. Let's talk about that, because that's also in the magazine, the gorgeous little spread. There's a little nod to it there.
We are just relaunching our gloss product, which is our acidic demi-permanent color. I got to tell you, my opinion and the people that use it, best performing gloss in the industry. But I got to tell you, shine, condition, color, absolutely industry leading.
Yeah,
absolutely industry leading. We've just launched 17 new shades, especially with our reds, our golds, and our coppers.
Which really are so trendy right now. I feel like those colors. Yeah.
By the way, if you haven't seen the cover of this month's
gorgeous.
Beauty Launchpad,
I was so excited when I saw that cover, because I also think I was excited too about the advertorial that you guys did inside, which is like right on the very inside, because it'd been a while since we'd done some like just very aesthetic, like gorgeous imagery on the front that was just like gorgeous hair, because I feel like we've been pivoting a lot towards education. And I was just looking at these images and I'm like, I love just staring at the beautiful images of the hair, but then also having the breakdown of the formulas so that like people can go and try it and play around with them themselves.
It's simple. It's easy. It's easy to apply. It is high impact, low risk color, for anybody, for a client especially, who doesn't want just a little bit of a shine shield in their hair with like a neutral gloss or just like a little hint of color. I always tell stylists to talk about gloss like you would talk about lip gloss, because you can have a clear lip gloss just for a little bit of shine, little reflection on the lips, or you can add something, just a lip gloss with a little color, add a little hue to lips, or if you really want to like maximum impact, you would put a lip gloss over a lipstick for additional color, vibrancy, and incredible shine. So the best thing about a gloss is you can layer it on top of anything. Use it by itself or layer it. But going back to what you were talking about, right now we have, with the launch of the gloss, we're starting a whole new program called #Milkshake Mirror Moments. And the Milkshake Mirror Moment is, now, you know this as a stylist. You know that moment where you take the cape off and the client sees their new hair, their new look, the new them in the mirror for the first time. That's what we want to capture. So we're inviting stylists to film their milkshake mirror moment when the client sees their hair for the first time. Post that on Instagram. Tag us, Milkshake Hair Pro, and also #Milkshake Mirror Moment. It's all in Beauty Launchpad. You can see all the things. And we're going to be choosing some lucky winners to come to Hairtopia, which is our big event.
I didn't realize at first like that was, because I covered it last year. You guys set a Guinness World Record there last year.
Hold on. He was giving the stuff.
Okay, finish.
Hey, he's on the edge of his seat here.
I know.
So
you stepped me a little bit there, Gab.
I've just seen this so many times now that I'm just like, I know the deals.
Hairtopia is a Beauty Novas event. We're going to be in Ibiza. We're closing the season in Ibiza, so we're going to be at the Hard Rock Hotel right on the ocean. And if you've never been to Ibiza,
I have not.
Oh my God! Well,
only in my
dreams. We're going to see you there. Hopefully, we're going to see you there. But anyway, you can win tickets to the Hairtopia event. I believe it's an all expense paid trip.
Wait, so you can't say I believe. It either is or it is not, John.
It is.
Amazing.
All the terms and conditions are in Beauty Launchpad.
Yes.
Or available through Milkshake. You can follow us on
That's
Instagram
amazing.
as well. But it's going to be amazing because we're going to have not only Milkshake, but Depot and Medavita there. And it's going to be 3 days of education, chilling by the ocean, 2 amazing parties. In fact, one of the parties, we're taking our entire event to Ushuaia, which is like one of the coolest clubs on Ibiza. And we're going to see David Guetta. We're going to David Guetta, you know, the DJ, promoter, producer, everything, like the techno god that he is. I went to it last year. Absolutely an amazing experience, once in a lifetime experience. So come party with us on the beach. Us, David Guetta, 1,500 of your closest stylist friends. Come hang out with us at Hairtopia in Ibiza.
Dude,
but yes, that is the opportunity for the gloss and the milkshake mirror moment.
So do your spin to get to Ibiza.
My spin, yeah.
Do your client spin? Yeah,
absolutely.
Oh, that is so
Dude, I'm
cool.
so excited about this event. I know, like, I kind of, because I've been putting this, like, feature together for a little bit and then looking at the press release, all the details and everything. So I've kind of been very much aware of this event and it's happening for a while. And I'm excited now that the contest is out in the world for people to go and enter, because I'm even going to be looking at the submissions just to see what people do, because I'm so excited about it.
It kind of blows me away again. And we talked about this a little bit earlier, John, is like, did you ever think like you'd get from the bathtub to Australia and now like this opportunity to go to Ibiza, which is probably like so far out of even the reality that you don't think about it, but here's the opportunity.
Absolutely.
So that's so amazing. Oh.
And when people tell me that they're in the industry or they're thinking of getting into the industry, and I said, just keep your eyes open, keep your ears open, because you can have an amazing career behind the chair and incredibly fulfilling. I know hairdressers have been working for 30, 40 years behind the chair, but I also know there's so much else you can do in this industry. And that if you're looking at opportunities that might be in the peripheral, I got out from behind the chair and I went into education, and look where that's led me. I know stylists that have gone into session work, platform work. They're working on movies. They're doing other stuff, or they've gone in a different direction and they're now accomplished marketing, executives and things like that. And it all starts from going to beauty school.
Oh, man.
And I mean, it really is that, like the gala last night, beauty changes lives. Yeah. It doesn't just change the lives of our clients. It changes the lives of everyone who's in our industry. This industry has so much opportunity. I don't know any other industry that has as much lateral mobility as you can do with ours.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you brought that up because, and what's really cool about it, and God, I don't want to sound wrong when I say this, is that like if you work for a marketing firm, now in order for there to be any kind of growth or anything, now you need like a master's in some kind of marketing, or then you need to go get a PhD. And there's not that in our industry. It's like if you stay focused and stay in the industry, you can go. I mean, what's his name? Jason from Paul Mitchell. I mean, he's a hairdresser who's now like leading the company as a hairdresser. You know, which to me is like first big shout out to. Sorry to talk about another brand, but big shout out to Paul Mitchell for even seeing, you know, that
they did our March April cover.
That a hairdresser can lead your company,
Absolutely.
you know, or wherever. It's just you don't need like continued formal education to grow in this industry. Like you can just grow just being a hairstylist and being.
But it's available, you know, and you can. It's amazing. I've seen, like I said, stylists that come from behind a chair start working in education, or they start working within a company, whatever it is, and they say, you know what, that marketing thing does look interesting to me, or that something else does, and they go off and literally create a whole new career built on being a stylist, but then augment it. I know stylists have gone back to school and gotten their MBAs, you know, whether it's to open a salon, open a chain of salons, or to work on the brand side. You know, but it's such a great place to start from.
Amen. Preach that, man.
Absolutely.
I love this industry.
Well, it is.
That's why we started the podcast.
It is
right?
Sunday, so you know we can have an amen on that.
Amen on Sunday. That's awesome, John. Thank you for coming up, man.
Oh, God,
thanks for making the time.
Thank you for chatting with
Please,
us.
I'd love to come back and chat some more.
I was looking forward to this podcast all weekend. Like this was one of the things I was most excited for. Like I was so excited to meet you and Aubrey as well, who I believe is still
Aubrey and Caitlin.
They're still here.
I've met Caitlin before, but I was excited to see her. I didn't realize she was going to be here. But yeah, it was just I'm obsessed with like Milkshake, their team, the products, everything that you guys are doing. And so I was so excited to get to have this conversation, especially after the May June issue, because like not only is it the cover and the advertorial, you have Sarah, who did my hair,
Absolutely.
who has education in the issue. You guys were in our Blondes beauty box, so people can try out the blonde shampoo and conditioner.
I have heard from so many stylists that received that box that went out, and they're like, oh my God, this product is life-changing.
Yes.
And I'm not just saying that because they're a product, but it was just such a great opportunity to partner with Beauty Launchpad and so many of these different executions. So thank you for
partnering with us. Like we were so excited about this cover because this is one of our biggest issues of the year. Because it has our 30 under 30 contest in it, and like blonde like color just is always such a big thing. And I know, like you mentioned the beauty box, there's actually a hairstylist that is our salon feature, that's a queer salon owner that I featured in the issue, that I actually met at a concert and sent him the box and watched his whole unboxing, and he like opened the bottle and like smelled the product and was like, this smells so good, and I was like, yes, I'm gonna convert him. But it's just like you guys are such a perfect fit for the issue, and I am so glad we finally got to meet and chat. It's been such a treat.
Thank you for your partnership. We love working with Beauty Launchpad. We love being on the podcast as
thank
well.
You, man.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate you guys coming and supporting Presley Poe and Friends as well. That was really cool. It was so cool to see how you guys showed up. Ooh.
Please.
Yeah, please. It's really cool too. Like we started off the conversation certainly about Milkshake.
I was just gonna say I'm watching the marketing and communications team over there going, okay.
They're like,
just keep committing us, John. Absolutely. Look,
thank you. Thank you.
You give John a mic, you never know what he's going to commit to. So, but no, we loved the Presley Poe event.
It's a cool event.
You know,
it's a really cool event.
We'd love to find out what's happening next year. How about that?
We have dates.
Do you?
So we have to have conversations.
Share with us the dates and the opportunities for us to take a look at.
If you're going your education key, it could be a fun opportunity to have someone educating about the products, letting people.
Wouldn't that be
interesting? And
yeah, because people got to walk
Katie's
into
not
the room.
here, and Katie's going to kill because now I have the mic, and now I'm committing us to stuff.
Katie's going to be.
Katie's like, what the hell are you doing?
Katie can yell at me. I was the one who brought up the idea.
Katie was Gabby. It was Gabby.
It was my fault. I'll take the blame.
Listen. I'm going to take this segue here for just a sec. But it's really cool. Like you mentioned how fun Milkshake is. And I've also noticed that with everyone that we've worked with within the brand kind of has that same kind of like aha about them. And just let's see how we work this and let's have fun.
Love it.
It's just been a great brand to work with. Like easy and fun and kind of get it. I would be very excited for you guys to come back next year because now you get, like we were talking about before, it's so hard to sell an experience, but now you've experienced it. So like, how can Milkshake show up even bigger and better, for the brand as well? That's awesome. John, thank you for giving us the time. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely.
Love talking with you guys.
I love it. And I can talk about old school hairdressing all day long, which I absolutely love.
We should
do a whole episode on just old school hairdressing.
You know what I've always wanted to do? And I tell people this, and they look at me like, okay, well, you have fun with that, is tracing almost like the family tree of all the brands, because there's so many, we could talk for hours on this, but brands that begat other brands and spun off from brands, and this person left that brand and then went and started their own brand and things like that. Like sometime I'll tell you the story. A lot of people don't know how the original origin story of something like a Shades EQ, which was a cellophane fighter back in the day, because Redken and Sebastian were literally a quarter of a mile from each other in Southern California, and always looking at, they were.
What are they doing?
Yeah, absolutely. And a former Redken employee had told me this as well, a former Sebastian employee, about how these brands all sort of, followed each other, and then were, trying to
What's the good side of competition, right? Yeah. It's a good side. It's like that kind of competition creates innovation.
Absolutely. And that's really, it's a story of innovation and creativity in our industry that is expressed through these products that we know and love and that bring us together.
That's amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Mr. John Moroney.
Moroney, yes.
I'm not going to say it again.
No.
Moroney.
John Moroney.
John Moroney. John, thank you, man. Thanks for hanging out with us. And I'm excited about Ibiza.
In Spain. Let's do it in Spain.
Oh.
Podcast on the beach.
Oh, I like that. I've
never traveled internationally before, so if I end up in Spain.
If you end up in Spain.
If I end up in Spain.
Spain's a pretty good place to be your first place to be in your first place.
I would love that to be my first international trip. I've kind of been manifesting it. I've been like,
And what do we say? What do we say about putting it out in the universe?
Yes.
You put it out in the universe is going to present you with an opportunity.
It's in the universe.
If
I feel like you are the universe.
If
so
you want to check out the new issue of Beauty Launchpad, the May-June issue,
yes,
there's really an opportunity on how you can get involved with a brand called Milkshake and actually get to Spain.
Yes, and maybe you'll see me there if you. Yeah, I'd love to.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And I'll have the copies of the May-June issue there, or they'll be at the. I'll bring a few with me.
It'll be a January issue at that, or a December issue at that point.
By the time September, we may be working on a November, December issue, which then our Reader's Choice Awards will be in there, and Milkshake could end up winning some of those.
Love the Reader's Choice Awards.
We like those. All right, guys.
I feel like we keep trying to end this podcast, and we just keep going and going and going.
John, love you. Gabby, love you. Thank you guys very much. Have an awesome day, and thank you very, very much for joining us on your day off.